Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today in this What's New in Syncro webinar. I am Crystal, by the way, and I'm part of the team here, and we've got obviously Ian here as
Hey,
well.
folks.
Thank you all for hanging out with us today. We love doing these webinars. We really enjoy showing off all the awesome new dev stuff that we're doing. But we will go ahead. Let's just go ahead and start the webinar off. I know there's a question in Q&A right now, and Ian's going to go ahead and tackle that right now.
Yeah, some of you may not have heard about this, but there was a incident reported today about a potential security thing related to Syncro Live. It was a post on Facebook. Our security team basically looked into it with the user, gathered a bunch of information, and did a full investigation. We have no evidence so far that's been presented that makes us think there was any kind of vulnerability or issue. We're going to continue to look into it, but there's no evidence so far that there was any misuse of Syncro Live or anything like that. We looked at logs and a bunch of other things. The user was cooperative, and they've since removed their post. If there was something, I don't think it had anything to do with Syncro Live. So, there you go.
Awesome. Thank
Happy to
you.
answer whatever questions there might be there. But I think we're good.
Awesome. Yeah, it's always good. Thanks for bringing it up. We like to be super transparent and address those things as they happen. And so with that said, again, we're going to go through, if you see me looking over here, I have a gigantic list of everything that we're going to go over today, just letting you know all of the new things that we've released over the last, I think, like 6 weeks or so. I do have also the Q&A box popped out on a different screen. That's definitely the best way if you have questions, because we will take some time at the end to do kind of a live Q&A. So if you've got anything that you're curious about, go ahead and pop that into that box, and we'll get to those probably at the end. I think we're going to go through our list, and then we'll address the questions at the end. So I will just go ahead and kick it off. We released the ability to create per customer invoice templates. So this was super highly requested. I'm just going to go into the admin section here. You've always been able to customize your invoice templates, estimate test templates, and all of the emails and all of that good stuff. But now what we've done in this invoice template, you can actually do different templates. So you can create as many as you want, and you can have one of course be your default template, but then you can create multiple. So maybe you have customers in different locations, or that, maybe you just want the look and feel to be a little bit different. Maybe you have multiple addresses. Actually, that's another use case for that. But then when you're in your actual customer here, there's a setting. So again, it's going to always use the default unless you can go into your customer information. You can edit this, and you can select the invoice template that you'd want to use for that specific customer as well. So that was super highly requested, really awesome. The other thing that we've done, I guess I could just go into any ticket here. What we're doing is when you set a ticket to resolved and the ticket timer is running, it will automatically stop that ticket timer. So this timer here, the minute you go ahead and switch this to resolved, it's going to stop that timer. So you don't now have to stop it and then resolve the ticket. So again, another definitely quality of life improvement that was highly requested. The other thing, let's see here. I don't think I have this on my demo account, because this is more of like a staging account. So, but I just wanted to mention though that we do have the ability to disable MFA, and it's in your admin section under users, and you have to be a global admin, of course, to be able to disable that. So we did add that ability. Last thing before I hand it over to Ian, again, kind of one that I'm not really able to show too much, but we do have a splash top integration, and we did add a huge update to this where users can access device manage on the account rather than just a single user. So we did expand that integration to be more user friendly for you all. Go for it, Ian.
All right. Okay, so this first one is going to seem like kind of funny that I'm so excited about it, but we totally redid all of our API documentation and added a ton more API endpoints. So, um, you can see here there's a new link to API docs that are hosted on Swagger. So, Crystal, if you could click that API docs.syncromsp.com link right there under setup. Um,
What? What am I looking at?
the Sorry, the
Oh,
link to
this.
Swagger API docs, yes.
Got it. Sorry.
Um, so cool. So we use this really cool framework called Swagger to make the API documentation really easy to use and test. And we exposed a bunch of new endpoints, so there's new functionality in the API. For most of you, this won't matter much directly, but what this means is that if someone wants to write an integration with Syncro, or you want to do something fun, um, it's now way easier and it's going to be way faster and result in like less back and forth with like resolving some issue where you don't understand something. This gives you all the information you need. So lots of fun integration should result because of that, because we have really good like cutting edge API documentation now. So that excites me a lot. Okay, ticket issue types and ticket statuses are now sortable on the tickets index page. So if you see the table on the tickets page, the columns you can now sort by those two separate things, the ticket status and the type. Um, okay, so that's fun. Um, Mailboxes now have a new feature. So what you can do now with a mailbox is check a box that enables you to, well, I'll let Crystal pull it up. But basically, you can say if it should create a ticket from emails in this mailbox. The only for existing customers thing is new and um, awesome. So that should reduce a bunch of bad tickets that shouldn't have existed in the first place, things like that. Okay, event viewer in Syncro Live. This was another fun one. So if you want to go and look at the event log and search for some issue, you can do that now. The event viewer is pretty awesome. The filter part is cool. So you can see all the different events and you can filter by log levels and all kinds of other fun stuff. And you can search. So hopefully this enables you to find what you're looking for really, really quickly. And that was a fun feature to build too. Not that I built it, but it's fun. It's fun to see it. Um, okay, so next, third-party patching. Okay, so a lot of you probably know this, but for third-party application patch management, we use Chocolatey in the background, which is an open source, I guess you could call it library for keeping third-party applications up to date. We had a list of, what is this, 30-ish apps that you could keep up to date or install. However, people pointed out, hey, there's like 1,000 other applications in the Chocolatey library. Why can't we install those and keep those up to date? So we made it so you can do that. You see now this additional apps that you can manage. You can add an application. You just have to search through the Chocolatey repository and find the application that you want, and then you can add it and you can then install and update. We've gotten some questions here about why the middle radio button doesn't exist. So that one is, I think, update if present. Just wanted to answer that up front. We had to write some additional code on top of Chocolatey to make that middle radio button exist, because Chocolatey doesn't have built-in functionality for knowing if an application's already installed. The way that it works is you say, like, I want to install this application, and then it runs this thing, and if it's already installed, then it basically just doesn't update it, but now it's in the like Chocolatey repo. So we had to write a bunch of custom code in order to make that work. Seeing as there are 1,000 apps, we can't write the custom code for 1,000 different things, which is why that radio button doesn't exist. If there's something that you really, really, really want that radio button to exist for, it's actually better for you to send us in a feature request, and then we can write the custom code for that one application. There's not really a catch-all way to do it for everything. So there's that. Okay. Sorry for spending so much time on that. Okay, your turn, Crystal.
No, that was a big one. That was awesome. I'm glad you spent some time on it. Okay, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. I'm gonna go into products and services. We've added a nice, again, this super quality of life, huge requested item here. I'm just gonna go into any inventory item here. You can now discount based upon a percentage. So this was a huge thing. So it's just automatically like that. I had it requested so many times. So again, I know a lot of people were just happy to have that. The other thing we did is we made the name of the invoice PDF far more friendly. I think there was like numbers and things that didn't necessarily correlate with the customer. Now the name is customer name plus the invoice number, so that if your customers download a PDF, it actually makes sense to them what they're looking at. So that was, again, just a really nice add-on there. The other thing that we've done is, if you haven't seen this, obviously you could go into dark mode, for example, but things like enabling full screen, we've added it so that if you enable full screen and you switch browsers or whatever, it's going to stay in full screen for you, so you don't have to keep going into full screen each time. Oh, okay. I'm going to go into an asset. So another highly requested feature would be, if you're in an actual asset here, you can now export this activity feed. This was huge. A lot of people really wanted this. So any asset that you go to, you can then now export that activity feed to a CSV. So this is super helpful. This was, again, something that was very highly requested. And that's just a testament. We do listen to what you guys are asking for. We're building things like crazy. So keep those feature requests coming as well. All right, go for it.
All right. Okay, this one is fun and should make you more money. Those are the best feature requests. So you can now automatically apply ticket or trip charges to appointments. So if you go to an appointment type here, like Crystal's showing, you'll see that there's this automatically add ticket charge field that now exists. So you can type a product name here. So a product might be like trip charge, right? And it might be like $20 or whatever. So we can do that, and then when we click save, what's going to happen is, if we ever have an appointment that's on a ticket and it's of the type on-site, it will automatically add to the pending charges that trip charge product. So hopefully what that does is, if your techs had previously been forgetting to add the trip charge, it just ensures that that happens, and then you're making that money. So that's a little thing, but hopefully it makes sure you make money. Okay, we also resolved a QuickBooks Online customer not synced or stale object error for QuickBooks integration. Obviously, I can't show that, but that is resolved. Next, on the asset detail page, there will now be a pending reboot. I guess it's like a label that shows up at the top. And what that is if Windows says in the registry that it's a pending reboot. So this is usually because like it installed a Windows update, and before it can like actually, or it downloaded a Windows update, before it can actually install, it needs to reboot the computer, that kind of thing. Windows is like, oh, there's a pending reboot. And I think there's a couple different reasons why it can say there's a pending reboot. But what this does is it tells you there's a pending reboot on the asset detail page. So now you can see that. Okay, so a lot of you probably heard about the big vulnerability that Microsoft released a patch for on the first Patch Tuesday of the year. It's the Windows Crypto API spoofing vulnerability. We had so many people submitting tickets about like, how do I tell if this thing was patched or not on my machines, that we just made you a saved search. So you can just like click this checkbox, and it's specifically for that. So you can just click that and then install updates. Okay, your turn.
Oh, already. It's my turn. Okay. All right. So let's go. What we did here, I'm just going to go to like the alerts section. And so you can see if a ticket's been created, for example, for a specific alert. So if I just go to this ticket, one thing I wanted to show now, if you, when you go to resolved into the actual, in this ticket, it will resolve that RMM alert and clear that alert as well. So we did add that. Let's see here. Looks like we did a little bit more improvement on PDF file names used when downloading ticket receipts, ticket assets, estimates, and purchase orders. So similar to like what I said about the invoicing, just improved those to a little bit more friendly names. One huge thing, and I've got it on a different screen. I'm going to bring it over here just because it might be easier to just look at it from here. You've probably seen this. We added a ton of Bitdefender add-ons. So all of those things that you've been asking about, I mean, we do have a full gravity zone integration. It's phenomenal. It's tiered pricing. It starts at $1.30 an endpoint. And it's so easily enabled on a policy level. You can deploy really, really quickly. But then we just went a step further because Gravity Zone has so many amazing add-ons. And so there's 7 new add-ons. We've got some pretty good documentation here, but if you have any questions of what those are and why you might want to sell them to your customers, because this is a way to just increase your revenue, make more money, sell more protection. These are like hot topics right now. So there are amazing add-ons here, and you can access these straight through from your Gravity Zone portal. So it's not something that you enable on a policy level within Syncro. You go to Gravity Zone and you can enable those. And as you can see, like most of the add-ons are tiered pricing, just like the main integration is as well. Let's see here. We did improve the organization of contacts. So what we mean by that is in like the search all things here, I know that I'm a contact on a few. So if I just search my name, we've just cleaned this up. So it was kind of unclear where Crystal was being pulled from. And so we've just made this way easier to access your contact information. So maybe, you know, Crystal's on the phone, but you have no idea what company she's calling from. So this makes it far easier for you to kind of get where you need to go. All right, I think that's it for me on this one.
Okay. Next up. Okay, so we've been working a lot on reports. I know that's like one of the maybe top 2 things that people want. And so we gathered a ton of feedback about reports. One of the things we learned was that a lot of people were asking for reports that actually already exist. They just didn't know they exist because some of the names are not intuitive. So we renamed a lot of the reports, and you can kind of see that in the release notes what we renamed them to, but you'll notice in the actual reports kind of index page, which Crystal's going to, it's a little bit cleaner in here. You can also search for reports now, and it still works to search for the old names. So if there's a report you really liked before, you can still use that search there. Okay, so hopefully that helps people find reports that they want a little bit more easily. Okay, you can now, and there's lots more coming on reports. In fact, there's one more thing I'm going to cover later. You can now rename assets. Okay, so by default, it's going to show this with the unchecked. See the user-friendly asset name? It'll have it unchecked, which means it's just going to sync with the host name on the machine. So if that is currently demo win10.1 and it changes to demo win10.2, that's just going to update the asset name. It'll update there everywhere in Syncro. If you don't want it to update, you can check that box, user-friendly asset name, and it will then enable you to change the asset name to whatever you want, and that will stay. The host name will still change, but the asset name, and therefore like all the filters and the things you see throughout the app, they will use this friendly asset name that you assign it. So that was actually a very highly requested feature. So we shipped that. Okay, we released an update to the ticket email system that includes sending clients a newly added ticket created email. Right, so sometimes a tech will create a ticket for the user rather than the user submitting it themselves. So we made basically a new response HTML thing for that because it like contextually didn't make much sense for the user to get a thing that's like, "Thanks for submitting your ticket," when actually they didn't submit the ticket. So there's a new template for that.
It's in the PDF and email templates, Ian. Sorry, I didn't look at that one
Yeah,
ahead
it
of
is.
time. Okay, cool.
It's
All
all good.
right,
It's the ticket created email. So um, there's a new template for that. So yeah.
sweet.
Okay, so let's see, next one. When creating a new script, it will now default to PowerShell. Yes, so clearly PowerShell is much more, well, powerful than like Batch or anything like that. So before it didn't default to anything here. It was just blank in the dropdown, and that removed some of these things like adding a script variable because we can only do that with PowerShell. So we defaulted to this because people should be using PowerShell. Um, cool. Your turn.
Okay, so this one's a huge release. So bear with me. We added business hours, which changed and added so much functionality in so many different areas that I do want to make sure that I kind of go through all of these. But in your admin section, you'll see business hours. So now you can set your specific business hours, and you have some flexibility here. You can have a holiday calendar and all of that good stuff. So you can set up your specific business hours here. Then all of the different areas that this affects is absolutely crazy. So one of them, if we go to contracts here and we go to service level agreements, you'll see that within a service level agreement now, you can have it. Let me think here. I lost my train of thought here. I know that this is part of like being able. Sorry, this is something else, but this is where you can pause for specific statuses outside of those active hours. So we do have these that reference your business hours. And then in addition to that, it just kind of keeps going. This feature just continued to build out because we saw all of the different areas that this affected. So another one is if you look at your mailbox now, you have the ability to, if we go into any mailbox here and you're saying like, hey, let's only for existing customers, but let's enable after hours responders. So this was huge because we were getting this very highly requested that if someone submits a ticket at 7:30 p.m., they would want that autoresponder to not say, hey, we received your ticket, we'll get right on this. We want it to say, hey, this is after hours, we'll be back in the in the office at 8 a.m. So this was huge and just definitely a great aspect of adding those business hours. You can, in your ticket section, you can even do saved ticket searches based upon service level agreement breaches. So again, these business hours do touch a lot of different things. So if you haven't seen this, this is actually a way that you can create a saved ticket search. And so if I just create a new one here, you can see that you can have like different service level agreement statuses here that you can create those saved assets or saved ticket searches for. And what's cool about this is you can make these saved ticket searches default. And that's by user. So if you have a specific default view that you'd like to see right away, you can add that here. Business hours, of course, affect appointment booking, as well as you can even manage if you don't want SMS messages to go outside of business hours, you can even have that set up as well. So again, huge feature that touches a lot of different parts of the app, and it's just a phenomenal job. Let's see here. We added, for Syncro Live, we added the ability to select a session to log into using Syncro Live on a Windows server. So if you go into a remote connection, I don't have a server on here that I could remote and give you an example of, but there's actually a drop down. So you can choose which session you want to remote into when accessing the server. And so again, that was just a huge request as well. Let's see, other things that are just more of like that quality of life type of thing, we alphabetized policies. So that is just easier to get to what you need to. A lot of times we do have users that have lot of different policies, so it was very helpful for those to be alphabetized. Um, and then the last thing, like Ian mentioned, we do continue to add things to reports. And so one thing that we have done is, I'm sure you've had these times where you're going to the report section and you're always looking at the same report. Now you can add them to favorites. So for example, if you go to like a customer detail report, for example, you can run it for a customer, or even before it's run for a customer, you can save this to a favorite. So if you run customer detail reports all the time, or you have maybe a VIP customer that you want to see this specific report all the time, you can save this to your saved reports so that it's easier to get to. And most of the reports, I think there's a few that aren't able to be added to favorites, but most of the reports in the system, you can add those to favorites at this point.
Yeah, if I could add to that, there are some use cases here that might not be super intuitive. So for example, can you go back for a second?
Yeah.
I saw a lot to the index page. There are a lot of requests for various reports, for example, that actually you can already do that thing by using the asset audit report. So in the asset audit report, you can change all the different table columns here if you go to customize. And yeah, if that'll, yeah, so you can change the table column. So a lot of people were saying like, oh, I want to know all the computers that have this amount of RAM or something, right? So you can change all the table columns here. You can customize it. You can do it for a particular asset type. You can even use a saved search if you want to filter it even more. So you can go pretty granular here. You can then save this as a favorite, and it's going to save the columns and all the different settings that you have set up, and you can save that as like you basically can give it its own name and turn it into a separate report that you can then come back to. You don't have to reconfigure it every time. So this is like a sneaky powerful thing, um, but it might take a little bit of explaining. And then this is obviously the type of thing you can also schedule this report to go out. So yeah, there you go. More coming on reports too. So working on that.
Awesome. I think that was the last on my list. For now, I mean, like I said, this is a ton of things that we released, and big features too. Like some of these that, took Ian and I a couple minutes to get through. These are huge, huge features. So we do appreciate your feedback. So keep those requests coming. And like Ian mentioned, we love feature requests that either you can say, hey, I want this thing because it's going to save me a ton of time, or I want this thing because it's going to grow my revenue. Like those are the ones that like kind of like, oh, we want to do that. So we do like hearing from you for sure. So should we hit some Q&A, Ian?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I haven't even looked over there yet. I don't know if you have.
I have seen a couple.
Okay. All
Uh,
right.
where do you want to start?
Um, let's just start at the beginning. Let's just go, okay, I'd really like to see the full extent of the Mac integration, plus we need a Mac silent installer to be installed by command line or curl command via Screen Connect. So,
Yeah, lots of work to be done on the Mac agent. Yes,
the
I agree.
yeah, and just in regards to wanting to see the full extent of it, if you reach out to help@syncromsp.com, they can add you. We changed that. You can actually request to be added to that Mac beta. So if you haven't done that, I'm already in it, but for those of you that aren't, you can request it, and we changed the way that you do that. So you can actually just go to new RMM agent installer, and then, oh, hello. From here, you can actually request the Mac agent from there. All right, what's next? How long does it take for community script library reviews? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I would say that we have a lot of opportunity to streamline that a lot more. It should be faster. I think that's mostly a resources issue. We're I'd like to do more of those. There's also some that need to be updated and fixed, and yeah, we've talked about that a little bit. So I hear you. Needs to be worked on. Many things to do.
Yes. I'm going to answer this one. The question is, when it comes to disk space alerts, if you disable alert forever for just that asset for a D drive, will it disable alerts for all drives, C, E, etc., or just that drive letter? So if the alert is based upon, like here, if you've obviously seen this where you can have specific alerts based upon the drive, the alert will be specific to the drive. So if I'm answering properly, I'm fairly certain that if it's based upon an actual D drive alert from in here, what we're talking about here is if you go ahead and you mute this alert and you select forever, it should be just that asset for just that drive.
That's my understanding as well.
Yes. Cool. Let's see here. I'm going to read this one out loud. It's regarding what you went over with third-party patch management. I would really love the ability to call a Chocolatey package to be installed for specific users, maybe through scripts in some way. Right now, the only way to do it is to create a new profile and create a new software package policy.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, because like you're mentioning right now, you do have to, if you wanted it to be different for each customer, you would have to create a different policy with a different third-party application patch management policy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That, yes. And that solves the like update if present thing, because that's why people want update if present.
Got it.
We could include it in the, we could add a command in the PowerShell help, PowerShell commands at the bottom. There could be one that does that. That would be pretty easy.
Mm-hmm. If there's any other of these, I'm just kind of going in order. So if there's any of them you want to grab me in, just let me know. Can we customize the invoice PDF naming? My current system would be the date, number, client name. Not right now. We did just update that PDF name where it's the invoice, the client name, and the invoice number. I don't know if we have plans to customize, like the ability to customize it totally, but we did just make it quite a bit more friendly. Okay. Let's see, what else? Can we get automated remediation to have an option for action at a specific time rather than delay?
Um,
Let's go look.
uh, I know what he's asking for. Um, we'll probably solve that in a different way at some point. There's a bigger, yeah. Long story short, yes, eventually you'll have to be patient, and you'll get more than you're asking for.
Let's see. Is there a way to customize your tabs per user instead of globally? These tabs, you can customize these tabs completely in your admin section, but they are currently a global customization.
Question from Brad: how long is the activity log and event viewer logs maintained? Activity log, I think, is forever. I don't think we don't like get rid of that for storage reasons or anything. The event viewer logs in Syncro Live, I'm assuming that's what they're asking about. I don't recall. I remember there was some discussion in the spec writing stage about that, how far back to pull, and I don't remember what the resulting decision was. So I'm not 100% sure. It does have like the date in the Syncro Live thing, so you could just sort it by date and you could see how far back. But um, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Cool. I'm going to answer one from Randy. Windows patches from assets screen. Does install happen immediately or in a time window? Can we set it to process in a certain time window? So from here, my understanding of this is if you hit install, it will happen right away unless I think there is a queue system that if there are other patches running, it'll go in order. So if you see a delay, that's probably because it's waiting for its turn. But in regards to being able to actually install those in a certain time frame, not from this section, that would definitely, I mean, I I can see a lot of use cases for not setting it up on a policy, but just in case, and for others that are here, with Windows updates, this is where you can apply different Windows management policies to the master policy. So if we create a new one, you can very specifically say, starting at a certain time, and you can say, hey, I want this type of, so you select which categories. You can say, okay, that category, I want those to run on the last Friday of the month, for example. So you can get very granular when the time frame comes from a policy, but not from the actual asset itself. Okay, let's see. Okay, um, let me read. I haven't read, there's a longer one, Ian, that I have not read towards the top.
I will go read that.
Okay. Let's see, I'll read this one. We really need separate contacts for sales, tech, and accounting for emails. Invoices should go to an accounting contact, ticket notes to a tech. Any way to do this? So it all depends on, I mean, when you say, okay, I just want to make sure invoices should go to an accounting contact. So you're saying almost like assigning things to different departments. I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
like contact roles,
right?
basically. Um, yeah, we get that feature request a fair amount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I guess at this point, the answer is there's not really a way to do this right now, anyways. And I will kind of just like give you a heads up that this is also, we're working on this right now. But whatever ticket you are in, you can CC. This can be to the customer, it can be to an internal technician or whoever that might be. And then we will be adding some additional functionality to this as well here shortly. What's next, Ian?
Yeah, I can answer this big one.
Okay.
So Taylor has a couple different feature requests. One of them is, let's start with some of the other ones. One of them is bulk maintenance mode. You can currently do that on a particular asset, but I don't think there's a way to do it on multiple at the same time. I agree with that. We should do that. Yeah, custom branding, the portal. We have gotten that feature request. There's some tech related things we need to work out there. Possibility of having multiple prepay hour pools. It's so funny. I have one other person that's like very adamantly requested that, and you're only the second person that I know of that's ever requested that. Yes. The other person has a very complicated billing model. Uh, if we get more requests for it, I'm happy to do it, but you're like only the second person, so it's going to be hard to prioritize that. Okay, same custom ticket fields in backend for client support portal front end for obtaining greater details from the customer.
Yes.
Okay.
we get this requested often. So, like from the actual customer portal here, when
Yeah.
like a technician's creating a ticket, the request is that from the actual customer portal when they go to create a ticket, it just asks for like name and subject and that sort of thing.
Uh,
One thing that I really like, that I do want to show here, I don't know, I think I might be having a little bit of an internet issue. One
I can
thing that
still
I
hear you.
You can hear me okay? Um,
Yeah.
okay, one thing that I was gonna say is the customer contact or the agent contact form. Um, that's what I was gonna show is from there you can actually require name, email, contact, phone, subject, description, and then you can apply backend settings to those. So, um, so there is a little bit more if you're using that agent contact form.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's see. Um, Still waiting on a feature to mark entire tickets as private so they don't appear in the portal. Yep, that makes sense. I haven't seen a ton of requests for that, so we'll probably have to hear more requests for it. Do you guys plan on having a report that shows things like last user login for employees or some type of login history? Yes. So I think on the so this is a good example of where you could kind of accomplish this already on the uh, asset audit report. Crystal, are you still there? You having internet issues? Crystal might be having internet issues. Okay, that's all right. We're gonna keep going. She won't be able to show you the screen, but it's okay. Maybe I can take over. No, I can't. So on the asset audit report, there is a column that shows last logged in time, and then I think there's a separate column that's like last logged in user. And if you use that, you could save those columns as a report, and you could print it out per asset. And if the asset has a contact assigned to it, you would then know who the employee is, and you could match it up, the employee name and the contact and the last logged in username. Also, I recognize that's not really like a historical audit. So if you wanted to see like more than just the last logged in user, obviously that can't accomplish that. So we would need to build out a bigger report for that. Why doesn't the iOS app sort the assets alphabetically? Because lots of things should be sorted alphabetically that aren't, and we want to do that, and we're trying to do it. Please integrate with ESET. Need more requests before we can integrate with ESET. We already have 3 antiviruses. Like the added benefit to people is not that high. Webroot and Bitdefender and MC Soft are totally fine, and it's just a matter of like antivirus is so much a matter of opinion. That being said, I don't have a problem with ESET. It's just like not as high priority as some of these other things like reports or HIPAA compliance or lots of other things. So if I had unlimited resources, we'd have it done yesterday, but we got to prioritize stuff. So we'll see. Okay, not sure if this API functionality even exists, but is there a way Syncro could pull hours from Google Maps or Google My Business? Would be awesome, as we really keep up on that for any open hours or holiday changes. This is another case where I would love to share. Let me see if I can pull reclaim host. Okay, I'm host now, and maybe I can share now. Let's see. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now. And so if we head over to the SLA stuff, we can't pull from your Google Maps listing. I think if we built that, lots of people would. Yeah, there are a lot of other alternative ways that other people might do that. So to build that, um, uh, it would probably be an issue. But one thing you can do with the new SLA stuff is you can actually, there's holiday hours. So you can put them in up front, and um, you can use my business hours, and there's a holiday calendar thing that you can do, which is pretty awesome. And then you can do that up front. So you should only need to do it once. And yeah, okay. Let's go to the next thing. Next question. I think Crystal's sorting out her internet thing. Okay, so I'm having can we get antivirus added to those customizations? Chris, I don't recall which customizations you're referring to. So if you can elaborate, I'm happy to answer. Already answered these. Okay. Okay, I'm having issues with adding links to Syncro assets in documentation pages. I post a proper URL, but after I save it, the system must notice it's a Syncro URL and modifies it. When I click the link, it brings me to an invalid location as a result. Xavier has been working on this. Yeah, I don't know specifically about that issue, so it's probably better to communicate in the ticket on that because I'm not aware of that one. What is the preferred way to submit feature requests? We take feature requests in lots of different ways. Sending them in as a ticket is great. Our tech support folks go, and we have like big system for gathering feature requests, and they'll mark. It's essentially like a tally system, kind of, or like a voting system. So we definitely mark it down when people request a feature that's already been requested. And that could be done via ticket. If you're like on a demo with some of our sales folks, they'll usually take a note. I usually take notes for the notes in these webinars and other webinars. It doesn't really matter. You are welcome to submit feature requests in lots of different ways. The most easy for us to track is probably via the tickets because they're text, which makes them searchable and trackable. So yeah, Crystal's back. Okay. How to search recent activity for longer than it shows on the asset page. You would have to export that. I think that's the only way. You can export it to CSV, and then you could search via Excel or Notepad or whatever. And Crystal showed earlier how to export it. 100% agree on the Mac comment. Yes, I 100% agree as well. And there's lots of work to do there. And we're working on building up our resources. Where do you stand on HIPAA compliance and being able to give a BAA? Yes, I've answered this lots of times. However, the answer is a little different now. So we've been kind of working on HIPAA compliance in the background for the last year, maybe a little bit more. It's now kind of maybe top 2 priority for us. The last 2 weeks, we've been devoting a lot of resources, 100% time to it, and we've made a ton of progress on it. We hope to be able to sign BAAs really soon, and we know people really want it, and it's no longer like a thing that's being worked on in the background. It's now a very, very, very high priority, and I don't have an exact timeline because this kind of thing, it's really hard to tell, but we, especially in the last 2 weeks, have been working super hard on it.
Yes, sorry, thank you. I'm back. I was going to grab the question about are there plans to make Syncro Live remote access available to clients? So there's a couple of things. What we did do is you can create a single customer permission. So we do have security groups where you can create a user that can access, that just their environments, and it is that customer specific um, user. So it's not necessarily allowing like all of your customers to access their endpoints via the portal. I know that a lot of our users are currently using Screen Connect to do that if they have customers that require that, because you can do that with Screen Connect. I don't necessarily know if we have, I don't think there's anything roadmapped at this point to add that functionality to say like the portal. Okay. Is there a way to bulk delete customers? Um, yes. So what you can do is you can actually export your customers to a CSV. And I mean, I guess this is the way that I know how to do it. Maybe if there's a different way, but you can export your customers to a CSV, clean it up, and then re-import it in, and you'll have a nice fresh list as well. Is that the only way, Ian? I think it is.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
IP whitelist for tech access.
Um,
Yep.
do you, yep, 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 yep. Um, it's in, where is it at again? Is it
I
in,
think it's in users.
I thought it was in, it's funny because I know where it is. Hold on. It's funny because I think if you go, yeah, it's employee settings here where you can add, is this what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yep, there.
Yep. So you can put IP addresses in there, and those that's what you're looking for, Claudio. Okay. Lots of questions. Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the more customers we get, the more questions there
I know
are.
this is great.
Okay. We answered that one. Are there plans to support more than one channel for Slack alerts? Not currently. Open to it though.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Trying to find things that are not feature requests because there are
Um,
so many feature requests.
Yes, one of the ones that I was looking at was it says requests would be able to granularly apply specific scripts in profiles to specific customers. One thing I did want to show is that if you want to get super granular about applying scripts, you can use this saved asset search. You could drill down to the exact assets that you want, and then whatever subset it is. What I wanted to show is that like if you come in here and you select all of the ones, there is this manage option up here, and you can have a script running, and you can even set them up to run on schedules as well. So there is a way to do that in bulk based upon specific subsets of devices. So hopefully that will help for now. um Yeah, I think that, yeah, it makes sense from what you're saying, John. Hopefully that will work. Let's see.
Can we have antivirus added to the list of available customizations on the asset report? I thought that was already in there.
On the asset audit report?
Yeah, I thought it was already
Yeah,
an available column, but
I
I could be wrong.
I don't know if it's an available column or if it's available via the saved asset search. But let's look. So in columns, Like, for example, like, I don't know what we would have named it. Um, Yeah, I think that what you'd have to do, I don't think it's going to be in the columns. I think what you can do though in your saved asset search, you can have like machines that have Bitdefender installed for see like have
Hmm.
Bitdefender. So you can
Yeah.
use saved asset searches for this, but it's not, I don't believe it's part of the columns.
We should make it part of the columns. We should
I
do that. I like that. I want to do that
wonder,
because we have the data's already in there.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be that big a deal. It's we just have to do it.
Yep. Cool.
The only one complicated thing is they can technically they could have more than one. So there are some. I guess you could comma separate it, but
Mm-hmm. Let's see. How do you delete a scheduled script in bulk? I had one the other day where we wanted to change the runtime and I had to delete it from each asset. Is there a way to bulk delete? Um, let's just look. So if we had anything that was in scheduled runs, so this one's in a scheduled runs. Uh, delete? Does this delete the actual, do you know?
uh,
Does it
I think
delete the
that
actual script?
I think it deletes the script. They're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was reading the chat. They're talking about removing scheduled runs.
Yeah, in bulk.
There's a page for that. I don't know if you can delete in bulk though. If you scroll up,
And you look at,
there's like oh, it's not here. Can you find one that has a scheduled run?
so this one has a scheduled run.
So I think you can like view scheduled runs, right? In the drop down
My
on
face was in the way.
the ellipses.
Oh, well, these ones. This is it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see these
And you could,
and you can X all of them. I don't you and on the below one for like currently scheduled, you can select multiple.
mm-hmm. And I wonder,
What happens if you click manage? Yeah, you can delete.
delete from here. I don't know what happens if you hit edit. Oh, it just edits the script. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. So,
Um, yes. Do we have a location where customers can see what features are being worked on? Not currently. Uh, I've answered this question a lot of times too. We build stuff so fast that we have some experience with having public forums where like people can vote on things, and it's a lot to manage, and it's uh, it's like kind of a full-time job for someone. So um, we don't currently have it, mostly because of resources. However, we pretty much work on the things that everyone keeps talking about. So if you see a lot of people talking about it, it's probably being worked on already. So an example would be HIPAA compliance or reports. We're working on both of those things. Um, so yes. Um, got another question here from Dave about pen testing, security audits, all that kind of thing. Um, we have security researchers that are constantly trying to find vulnerabilities in Syncro, and we pay them a ton of money all the time, every month. If they find anything of, a lot of the time they find things that are like, I don't know if that's really a vulnerability, but whatever. And we pay them anyway, and we fix the thing. Um, every once in a while they'll find something important, and we patch it. So I would say that we have security researchers kind of constantly auditing the app. It's not necessarily like like a pen test, but there are many researchers constantly trying to find things. Um, so yes, we pay a lot of money to them, which is good. It's a good thing. Um,
I was thinking I can't believe, but it's already 12:32. But what I wanted to, I'm going to pick one last one that I wanted to just answer really quickly in regards to, of course, it's a request for a Syncro live chat. But one thing I wanted to show you too, um, you can run like a quick PowerShell module script on an endpoint before you launch into a session. And just let them know that, hey, I'm going to launch into a remote session. But you can preview what's happening on their desktop. So if you use the quick view modal, you can see exactly what's happening on that machine at that time if you're worried about interrupting if they're actively on their machine. So just want to make sure you'd seen that that was there. Is there any other last minute things, Ian, you want to address before we wrap it up?
I'm sorry we couldn't get to everybody's questions. There are just a lot of them. And if you have, you're welcome to send us an email with all your feature requests or anything. So, yes, hopefully we'll a lot more time for this next time.
Yeah. Yes, well, but we very much appreciate you all attending these, hanging out. I know Ian and I both really enjoy doing this. We're learning stuff all the time too because it's hard to keep up with everything that we're releasing. So we're so glad that you came and hung out with us today. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.